Welcome back to Moving Cardboard. Hey guys. So I'm going to do another opening in this video of the second Hobbit Saga expansion on the Doorstep. Here they are. There's that little, the secret. There's Smaug, obviously. But that's the cup. See, this is the scene right after Bilbo goes down the first time in the moon door. Smaug was asleep and he snuck back with a cup. See, and they're all excited, and then Smaug wakes up and immediately notices every little thing that's missing, and he comes around and there's I think it was Bomber. They're getting up by the rope because he was with the ponies, and then they're going to rush in here just before he notices them. So that's a cool scene there. They got every little detail there. And so I'm going to open this up. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to play this. I'm going to break strict progression a little bit in that I'm going to just open both of these and then play both of them through with everything up through the whole Khazad-dûm, the Doorstep cycle plus these two. So it's a little bit out because when this second box came out, there would have been more adventure packs out, but I'm just going to do this because I'm assuming that there's going to be a lot of dwarves in here, and it'll just maximize my dwarf stuff because the next cycle after Doorstep is all like Gondor related, so I don't even know that there's a lot of dwarves in that. So, well, there's a different Bilbo card, so that's interesting that I'm going to get. So I'll have an alternative Bilbo. So I'll probably restrict myself to using the first Bilbo in the first quests and then use him. But let's see what else I can get in here. So I'm going to go ahead and pop it open, and I have really absolutely no idea what's in here. Taking the shrink off, and again with these boxes are so neat and nice and cute. So basically, like every other box, they're all the same. Cards and a little booklet. He was trembling with fear, but his little face was set and grim. Already, he was a very different hobbit from the one that had run out with a pocket handkerchief and Bag End long ago. He had not had a pocket handkerchief for ages. He loosened his dagger in its sheath, tightened his belt, and went on. This is the passage when Bilbo is in the passage. He also says a little bit before or after this paragraph that this was the most difficult part of the quest for Bilbo, that moment of sheer terror and fear in the secret passageway right before he goes and sees Smaug in all his glory. Okay, so this is the second half. There are player cards. They're all compatible with everything else except for the pipe cards and the 6 treasure cards. So this one has 6 cards. So that's interesting. We've got Bilbo's magic ring, the Arkenstone, Mithril shirt, Thror's battle axe, hunting bow, and a golden cup. Here a new Bilbo with the Bag End sphere. Actually, I wonder if he is new. This version of Bilbo can only be used when playing with scenarios in this set. Does that mean... Yeah, that makes sense. So there's a slightly different version. And we have treasure again. I still haven't played any of these yet, so flies and spiders. So okay, so we're in Mirkwood now. That has venom, poison, and poisoned keywords. Interesting. So you get poison cards, and that's going to be interesting. Characters can become unconscious, but then become readied. Makes sense, because Bilbo has to go through and wake everybody up in the book, so it's good that they incorporated that. Then we have the Lonely Mountain. We have a burgle game effect. Interesting. So there's going to be some mechanic for attempting to burgle. And then we have the Battle of Five Armies. Okay, well that's going to be really interesting. I wonder how that's going to work. Battle and Siege. Okay, so I know Battle and Siege are keywords introduced in the Gondor, so they're using that. Okay, so that's interesting. I haven't experienced Battle and Siege yet, so I'm going to play this before I move on to the Gondor set. The name of it's I'm blanking on, the one after the Dwarf Elf cycle, and I know that has Battle and Siege. I just know that that's upcoming. So this will actually be my first, because I'm going to play this first. The Hobbit stuff. So let's take a look at these cards. Oh, these are all the shadow cards and quest cards. So, not a lot of player cards, it looks like. So we have Bilbo here. He's a Hobbit burglar. He does not count against the hero limit, and he cannot gain resources. Spend a Baggins resource to search my deck for a treasure card. So that's I don't remember what the other Bilbo does, but that's pretty good. 0 threat, 1/1/1/3. Stats aren't really useful for much of anything, but that action is very good. So if you have treasure cards, you can just get one every turn. That's pretty good. Okay, heroes. 9 threat. 2, 1, 2, 4. Balin, son of Fundin, he who went to Moria. After this, pay a resource from his resource pool to cancel a shadow effect just triggered. Then deal another shadow effect. Okay, so limit once per attack. That's not really all that great. That's like Eleanor. Eleanor can cancel treachery cards by exhausting. It's slightly better because you just pay a resource rather than exhausting. So, and leadership has a lot of ways to gain, well, not a lot, but it has ways to gain resource advantage rather than action advantage. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. Bard the Bowman, of course, he's going to be in here. 11, 2, 3, 2, 4. Ranged. When he makes a ranged attack, the enemy he attacks gets -2 defense. Great multiplayer card, not one that I'll use, unfortunately, because I'm not going to play 2 decks. Especially filming on YouTube. That would just make filming take twice as long, because there's no way I can fit that all in one camera shot. But anyway, it seems pretty good. Seems good. It does seem kind of... I'm going to guess there's got to be some kind of event, because he slew Smaug with the help of being able to talk to a bird. I want to see how they fit all that in. I just reread The Hobbit. I just finished it very recently. Okay, I mean, it's hard. A solo one deck player, this card is a non-starter for me, honestly. Because that is nothing, basically. Owen. Spirit 2/1/1/4. When you have 5 dwarf characters, he gets +1 attack and gains the tactics resource icon. Okay, so more 5 dwarf synergy here. There's lots of 5 dwarf synergy cards, so I want lots of dwarves. Another reason that I have Bard. I want lots of dwarves. I think I'll make a dwarf deck but without Dane to see how that goes, because Dane shows up later. Well, I might make multiples because Dane actually shows up for the Battle of 5 Armies, so I could throw him in then for the last quest if I want to be like keep true to the story. Oh, another hero. Okay, awesome. Bomber. When counting the number of dwarfs you control, he counts as 2. He's just a big beefy boy. He is, you know, there are a lot of fat jokes. It's mentioned many times in The Hobbit that he is fat. Oh, quite a few times. He's a good defender, 2 defense with 5 hit points. He's basically there to defend and be 2 dwarves. So that's pretty nice for all this 5 dwarf synergy. Another hero? Nope. Glowin. Okay, so this is an ally version of Gimli's dad. 5 dwarf characters. As a quester, I like how the will stat and the art kind of synergize actually, because, okay, he's going to be a quester and here he is leading the way with a torch, exploring. After you play him from your hand, choose a hero, add 2 resources. So in a sense he only costs 1, 3. He's already a good price for his stats, and then you could theoretically play him for 1 if you're putting them back on a leadership. He's a dwarf. I mean, he's an ally, a dwarf ally. I think the value of dwarves is just that they are dwarves with so much 5 dwarf synergy. So whether he's like in and of himself good, not really, but he's a piece for the dwarf deck. Biffer. I've got to get everybody. Biffer, Bofer. No, this is another. After you play him from your hand, draw 2 cards with 5 dwarf characters. 2, 3, 4. Same kind of thing. He's just a dwarf. Not per se, but I kind of like this, the synergy thing where the cards, each individual, doesn't really mean much, but it's context that makes them good. I kind of just like that in general. Dwalin. Sentinel, so he's a defender. These are all going to have like, I guess it's also kind of like, they're all just permutations of each other. So this is the 2 defense version versus the 2 will version of Glowin and the 2 attack version of Biffer. I guess that's interesting because it's lore and it's attack based. But anyway, if you control 5, lower the cost to play Dwalin by 2, which is similar to Glowin, but not really. Glowin's cost is effectively, I mean, you still have to have the 3 resources to play him. You just get 2 back, but you might put those 2 on a different sphere hero, depending. So this is just more resource advantage in the spirit sphere. I'm going to check the book to see if they got the color of the hoods accurate. because he does talk about the color of their hoods. So those are my allies, I guess. Okay. Do I have all the dwarves? I'll have to check to make sure they made cards of all 13 dwarves. I'm sure that they did, or have, but some of these are duplicates of people who are heroes, like Biffer and Glowin. But that's necessary to be able to get them all in. Straight shot. Exhaust a weapon to choose a non-unique enemy with 0 defense. Discard the enemy. But it's not defeated or destroyed, so any sort of like destroy enemy triggers you might have wouldn't come into play. I would have to see. I'm going to guess there's got to be plenty of 0, like swarms of cheap orcs in the Battle of 5 Armies or something like that, or weak. Okay. Desperate Alliance. There's some meme potential here. Is that's a human? Choose a hero until in a phase. Give control of that hero and all resources in that hero's pool to another player. Well, that's useless to me. I'm not even going to try to evaluate that. Until the end of the phase. Well, that could be good, like if you had Bard on your team and you had enemies engaged with you and the other player has nothing engaged. You just say, here, you control Bard and use his range to kill this guy, like something like that. Or to give them dwarves if you've got 2 dwarf decks going or something like that. Hey, you have 5 dwarves right now. When you play this, one of these Biffer, Bofer, Glowing guys, you get a benefit, something like that. Not survey like anti-solo friendly cards though, which is annoying. Ravens of the Mountain. Exhaust a hero to shuffle the encounter deck and look at its top card. Place progress tokens on the current quest equal to the threat of the card you looked at. No, I don't think that's good because you have to shuffle it first. If you had any scrying effect, if you didn't have to shuffle, you could synergize this with a scrying effect so that you could play it when you know it's going to be a benefit, but this could have actually no. If it's a treachery, it would have no effect at all, and you've wasted a resource and a card slot in your deck. I don't think this is a good card. Well, no, I guess it can still be. It's just not as good because basically it's 1 resource to look at the top card of the encounter. So it is itself a scrying because you put it back. So 1 cost to scry is, I guess, standard. It's nothing really special, honestly. There's nothing special. Well, now that I'm more than I'm thinking about it, it's just like, because there's, what is it, Rumors of the Earth or something like that. It's 0 cost. You play it to look at the top card, and then you can pay a resource to put Rumors of the Earth back in your hand. That's probably a better card. Or maybe they're equally good, but in different ways. This one has the potential upside of giving you quest progress. I don't know. I'm not sure if I would put it in the deck or not. I do like scrying effects, though. I like them very much. I guess it's a decent card. I guess I should... I'm just not sure if I would have room for it in a deck, a solo deck. That's the problem with solo. You can't have this... Your decks have to be able to do everything. They have to be able to attack, defend, quest, cancel things, and with that in mind, I'm not sure that this card would be able to make it for me. If I'm playing 2 decks or playing multiplayer, I think this could be a good card. These are just my musings. I've never seen these cards or even heard of them, you know, at all. Okay, to me, O my kinsman. So this is referencing when Thorin makes a sally with the dwarves. If you have at least 1 dwarf hero, put a dwarf ally from your discard pile into play. And then put them on the bottom of your deck at the end of the phase. So that's like a kind of like a sneak attack. Kind of like a sneak attack. But it doesn't go back in your hand. But that could help enable quickly your 5 dwarf thing to then play. You could do this, throw a dwarf down, then you have 5 dwarves to be able to play one of those other 5 dwarf guys. If you did it during the planning phase, throw them down to be a chump blocker. I think that could have some good use. Definitely, because if you're playing a dwarf deck, you're going to have dwarf allies in your discard pile. Okay, Baggins, the lucky number. I am the lucky number. The clue finder, the webcam, yep, there we go. Choose a character in play other than Bilbo. Add all of his stats to that character's stats until the end of the phase. Which is weird. I mean, how are you going to have all of those stats come into play in the same phase? Something I would have to think about. But it doesn't matter. I mean, his total whatever, so we would need... But that's interesting. It's not printed. So if he has buffs, because his stats aren't great, but if you have buffs to those stats, I presume, like if he has a weapon or armor or whatever, that would still count, because it doesn't say printed, it says total. So you want to equip him with lots of stuff. I can't remember. Sting, I think Sting gives him a +1 attack or something. So that could be useful. Potentially useful. Once you get those treasures out. A Great Yew Bow. Attachments. Decent number of cards here. Attach the hero with a printed ranged keyword, so Bard, the bowman. Choose an enemy in the staging area. Exhaust the bow and the hero to make a ranged attack. Declare the attached hero as the attacker. No other attackers can be declared for this attack. So that could potentially make him useful for a solo player, or just more useful in general because he's printed ranged. His attack would be a 3 attack versus probably no defense. But this is a combat action, so it would have to be something you're not engaged with, because they would have already engaged you if they were going to beforehand. They have to have the ranged keyword. Huh, pretty interesting. It just allows you to make an attack in the staging area if you have a ranged keyword. And there's other attachments that can give you the ranged keyword. Was it Hands Upon the Bow, I think? So, okay. There we go. There's the black arrow of Bard. He talks about this is last arrow, the black arrow that always saved you to the last. Yeah. This is victory 1. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Limit 1 per deck. After the attached hero declares an attack, add it to the victory display to give the attached hero +5 attack. So, I mean, that's very thematic. You only have 1 of them. 1 per deck, though, is going to make it very hard to draw. gives you +5 attack. So you definitely see the story here. Bard with the Great Yew Bow, and this, so you attack somebody in the staging area with 8 attack and -2 defense. So it's like having 10 attack. You get 3 copies, but you can only have 1 per deck. Here's the key. Thror's Key, which was given to Gandalf in the Dungeons of the Necromancer. Hero can have it. When a location's added, attach the key to the location. Treat the attached location printed text box as blank. Well, that could be potentially useful against some pretty nasty locations. I'm going to guess you have to craft your deck to the quest. It's probably Expert Treasure Hunter. Limit 1 per hero. After the attached hero quests successfully, name a card type and discard the top card of your deck. If the discarded card is the named type, take it into your hand. Okay, so it's kind of like a weaker Villia. Well, no, you don't play this card. It's I don't know. You have to gamble for one thing. I don't know about that, because you're cycling your deck. What if you discard something? If you really need allies, you just name ally. If it's not an ally, you've cycled through your deck a little bit, so I guess it can be helpful. If you name something and a dwarf ally goes down, then you have this other to my kinsfolk to pull it out of your discard pile, use it for one phase. I don't know. I'll have to think about how I'm going to build these decks. King Under the Mountain. Exhausted, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, add 1 to your hand and discard the other. That's good. I think that's good. That's just every turn you draw a card, but you throw one in the discard pile. But you have a little bit of discard pile manipulation, I guess, with this. So if you're putting this in your deck, you want this in your deck. Especially with all these unique allies, where it doesn't matter so much. If you have like 3 ofs of these guys, you can only have 1 in play at a time anyway. I think that's a good card. Treasures. The Magic Ring. Only Bilbo. Exhaust it. Raise your threat by 1 to gain a Bilbo resource. And as a response, when he defends, tap it, raise your threat by 3 to cancel all damage. I mean, it's like Frodo's standard hero Frodo's effect. Similar to it. It makes sense, very thematic. Oh, there's only 1 of these. The Arkenstone. Exhausted, raise your threat by X, lower by X the cost of the next ally you play this phase that matches the attached hero sphere. I mean, you trade, threat becomes a resource. It already kind of is, but this explicitly makes it so. That's good. As long as you got threat reduction, then you can play allies for free in terms of resources. However, there's so many other ways to get plenty of resources that it seems like it might make it less useful. Mithril Shirt. Only Bilbo, +1 defense and +1 hit point. So if you have the that Baggins Sphere card, he would have 2 defense instead of 1 that would be added to somebody. Battle Axe. Attached hero gets +2 attack. After attached hero attacks and destroys an enemy, deal damage to another enemy engaged with you. So that's cool. That's very nice. Hunting bow. Attached hero gains ranged. When making a ranged attack, attached hero gets +2 attack. Oh gosh, so you play that on somebody. They now have ranged. You use the black arrow, which gives them +5. No, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't work. It has to be printed here. They gain ranged when making a ranged attack. Well, if you gave... Well, gives you ranged when you make a ranged attack, it's +2. Yeah, I don't think that's making it in my deck. There's the cup that Bilbo got. Attached to a hero, and then put it in the only point of this is to put it in the victory display to gain 3 cards. Draw 3 cards. Why even give it victory points? So that you can only use it once. That's why. Victory. If it were just a 0 cost play this, there would be a possibility of getting it back in your hand and recycling it. So they have the workaround of making it an attachment that you have to put in the victory display. So it's a one-time only. So the cards, they look pretty cool. And of course we got all these encounter cards. Or, yeah. What? Known to announce. Burgle. So some of these cards have a burgle effect on it. Well, those are the player cards. I'm not going to go through these yet on camera, but I'm going to guess this spider web quest will be kind of a re-envisioning in some respects of the very first quest in the core set. Or I kind of wonder, if it's going to be like caught in web kind of stuff. Oh man, when it's active location, you get -1 to your stats for each poison it has. When it leaves ready an unconscious character. It's Bilbo to travel here. So cool. I'll be putting together a deck or 2, and I'll start playing the Hobbit next. Anyway, thanks for watching.